Okay, next up we have Paddy Pimblett versus Kazula Vargas. Pimblett coming in as a negative 470 favorite versus Vargas plus 360 underdog. And it's kind of crazy. This is the third fight on this main card where the odds, we've got 3 fights that are negative 400 in favor of one fighter. I'm curious if all these fights are going to be that lopsided or if they're actually going to be competitive. This is one where I feel like the odds aren't justified at negative 470 to plus 360. I do think it favors Pimblett, but not as much as the odds give it. So if you're going to be making a bet for value, you might want to put a value bet on Vargas. Now, that being said, there's a lot of hype around Paddy Pimblett, and he's coming off of a first-round KO win over Vendramini in his UFC debut in September of last year. And that is super impressive. But also, if you watch that fight, there were a lot of holes in Paddy Pimblett's game, for sure. Pimblett's got some nice kicks. You know, he's a very fast striker. He's got some very snappy lead head kick, switch kick. He's got some fancy striking, for sure. But the announcers talked about it in the match, that he points his chin directly up in the air, and he got rocked hard in the first round. He was very, could easily gone out in that first round on his UFC debut. He got knocked right on the chin. His hands are low. His chin is up. His striking defense seems to be absolutely terrible. It didn't seem like he really blocked anything or slipped any punches in that fight. I think that what saved him is that he had forward pressure and was initiating the offense. Sometimes they say the best defense is good offense. I feel like that's the case with Pimblett here. And another thing I saw in that last fight, so that there are these flashes of, something special with this guy. And one thing I loved that he did was he shot this high crotch on the guy, grabbed his leg, and while he had his leg, he kicked the back of the guy's calf while he was holding his leg. And this is something that I've wanted to see so often, is when you get onto a guy's back, why not just kick those calves, jab your heels on him, do some of those oblique kicks onto him or something. I feel like it's something we've not seen a lot, and if you go back and watch that fight, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was very obvious. I'd love to see more guys do that when the wrestling doesn't work, to strike on those legs to try to take the guy down. Now, he did take him down. He wasn't able to hold him down, and ultimately came up with a KO win in that match. And I guess it's also worth noting that Paddy Pimblett probably has the worst haircut in the UFC. He's a very brash guy. He's suspended from Twitter indefinitely for targeted abuse. I think he was suspended from Instagram as well. Lots of hype around this guy. He loves talking trash. He seems like a fun fighter to watch, for sure, and he definitely, like I said, definitely has some flashes of something special with this guy. But I feel like it's too early to say until he goes up and starts fighting some tough guys in the UFC, whether or not he's got what it takes to get into the top 5 of his division. With Vargas, he's coming off of a decision win over Rongzhu, and I saw a lot that was kind of similar to Paddy Pimblett in terms of hands being too low, not necessarily the best striking defense, but he actually was able to slip some punches. He did have some striking defense. So I'd say as far as striking defense goes, Vargas definitely has the advantage over Pimblett, but Vargas doesn't seem like he's nearly as fast as Pimblett with the offense when it comes to striking. So I think that'll be what'll make the difference. If Vargas can initiate his offense against Paddy Pimblett, I think he stands a chance. That's why I think the odds don't make sense to be negative 470 in favor of Pimblett, because we saw in his last fight he got dropped. He can easily get dropped, especially if a guy comes out and starts initiating offense immediately. Another thing about Vargas is he had in his last fight some really bad guillotine techniques. He had this guy in a guillotine for over a minute, and his opponent was just giving the thumbs up the entire time. It seemed like there was just no threat at all, even though he couldn't get out of the guillotine. It seemed like there was no pressure on his neck at all, and he was doing it incorrectly. He was trying to arch his back instead of lean into it and apply a squeeze, and he ended up tiring himself out quite a bit. And Pimblett is known for having good wrestling and good grappling. So I feel like Pimblett will have the advantage on the ground. Pimblett will have the advantage when it comes to striking offense, and Vargas is going to have the advantage with striking defense. So he might be able to initiate some counters if he is, keeping tight on his striking. So Pimblett's open when strikes are initiated against him. He's open to counters. His fighting confidence seems way higher than Vargas, though, for sure. This guy, not only is there a lot of hype around him, but he believes all that hype. I feel like when I'm watching him in there, I think that's the reason for him wanting to be so eager to jump into initiating the offense. He really wants to, make a statement with a great knockout. Given that, I just think Pimblett's going to come out on top. I think how this fight's going to play out is that Pimblett's going to initiate his offense, and because he's faster, he's going to be able to land. This could be ended in the first round, but if it's not, I also would not be surprised if Vargas, keeps his hands up, keeps his chin tucked, is able to do some counters. And take advantage of the fact that Pimblett's going to be wide open when he's coming in with his offense. So looking forward to this one. Do you got any thoughts on this one, Fern?
I am interested to watch Pimblett for the opposite reason that most people are watching him. Most people want to see him win. I want to see him lose. Sorry. The gimmick, the stuff, I don't like the style. I will admit he's very, very talented. I believe he's Cage Warriors champion. You mentioned a great point that he just kind of comes out with a wide open style, which for, a person who's a champion in another organization, you want to see like some polished, refined technique. It works for him though. So kudos to him for making that happen. You bring up a good point about some of the interesting techniques that he used, that where he's striking the body when certain movements aren't working. I'm surprised that isn't more of a thing, because you see it in striking where they try to attack the leg so to kind of shut down the takedown or shut down a power puncher so that they're not able to base. I don't know why that's not done more often, especially like with the upper body. Even like if I like, you see people like going in the clinch against the cage, punching the leg, punching the thigh. Sometimes I'd be trying to punch somebody if they're a strong puncher, giving them a dead arm. I'd be like, 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 because they definitely attack people's legs. I want to see people attack their arm, just like totally beat somebody's body up. So Pimblett, very eclectic style. I agree. Worst haircut in the UFC by far, not even close. But I am definitely watching him to see him lose, because I want to see those kind of fighters get humbled and bounce back, and then I can root for them. He's going to run into somebody that is going to check him, and I want to see it sooner than later so that he doesn't get his ego too crazy. I think of like, a Conor McGregor where just the ego took them so far, and then they kind of turned him into, a worse person. Pimblett definitely very skilled. Excited to watch him lose, hopefully. If not, I'd be like, well, that he is good. So I'll give him his kudos on that.
West Coast Hot Boy.